Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel, where today we are going to be looking at episode 27 of the 6-song roundup. Got quite a mixed bag of songs here, so let's dive straight into it. Track number 1, we have The Weeknd, Playboi Carti and Madonna, Popular. Song is about 3.5 minutes long, and this tune comes from the really wank show that Abel did called The Idol, which only really sufficed to bring out some decent songs that they used for the show, if we're being honest, with Popular being the best track on the soundtrack, or one of them. Like, it was so much of a hit, it even ended up getting its own Fortnite emote. It's like this catchy pop R&B track. Weeknd as always sounds effortless on it. Madonna actually sounds really good working with The Weeknd. My biggest gripe with this song is the Playboi Carti verse. I say verse, it's like, oh by god, it's a repetitive hook that he does, and his squeaky vocals that remind me of a broken hinge on a door. And then he does this, like, sort of like the same hook, but then he tweaks it and adds a few lines, and then it just kind of goes back into the hook of money on top of me, money on top of her, or whatever the fuck he's saying in his mouse ass voice. But yeah, every time he comes onto the track, it's like a bit of a mood killer. So, if they could do a remix of the song where he's not on it, I would be even fucking happier, frankly. Number 2, or track 2, is by a band called Catch Your Breath, and this song is called Dial Tone. This song, again, is just around the 3.5 minute mark. So from the beginning, we have these smooth, very clean vocals that they get kind of like tinged with emotion, and like there's a proper emphasis on certain things in the chorus. The drum work and guitar work are super good throughout. And again, going back to the chorus, which is a very emotion-drenched plea, almost looking for like closure between a loved one / lover who has fucked off out of your life, or whatever it is. Apologies. It's a very good song. To be fair, it's one that I actually found through people using as a clip on Instagram Reels, or whatever it's called. So, they're good for something, apparently. Moving on, we have track 3, Architects, Seeing Red. This is just a bit longer, actually. This is 3 minutes and 42 seconds. And finally, Architects slap us right across the face with a fucking heater. The growls are back, the blahs are back. As always, the guitar work is stellar. Like, the drum work is phenomenal. Sam's vocals honestly sound like the best he's been in quite a while. That's not to say he ever sounded bad. Like, he just kind of sounds like he's maybe been working on them a little bit or something. I don't know. It's possibly, like I said, the best he's ever sounded. Like, the song just was so good, and it wasn't what people were expecting after the last few releases, where there'd been like all this radio rock, sort of like very toned down Architects, and then we get this, which is just like a little ball of aggression, and they're like, fuck you. And like, it almost served as like an annoyed note to like misinformation maybe or something, like because there was lines, something along the lines of like, won't somebody tell me what I believe, and you know, nobody loves you until you're dead, they won't like you unless you're seeing red and stuff like this. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it could, if you want to be like conspiracy theorists sort of thing, it could also be kind of like a nod to, or a middle finger to, fans that wanted them to go back to the more early days sounding Architects, where they had a bit more aggression, a bit more oomph, and like fuck you politics sort of thing. But who knows? I'm not part of the Architects brain, so I wouldn't be able to tell you which is correct, or if either are. So we're going to move on to track 4. Bring Me the Horizon, Dark Side. Again, this is kind of a shorter one. This is 2 minutes 45, which I feel like they could have probably got it to 3 minutes minimum, and I would have been a bit more happier with that, honestly. But they're back with another really good track, whilst they keep working on Post-Human Survival Horror Part 2, I think is what it's called. You know, Ollie's vocals are sounding very solid. This is a radio rock ish track, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's even been used by WWE for, I believe, an NXT pay-per-view as like the soundtrack to that. So you know it's getting attention when WWE use it, because they only use stuff that's popular. Yeah, I would say, like I say, it could have done with being a little bit longer. And my biggest worry with Post-Human Survival Horror Part 2 is, by the time it's going to be out, I feel like we're going to have heard almost every track on the album at this point. Like, I know Ollie and the guys have delayed it after... shit. Is it Jordan, I think, was the band member that left? The guy that does like the keyboards and things and the sampling. Because they wanted to add some more songs to it that we wouldn't have heard, because Ollie was in this, and the guys were like in a similar mindset of, by the time this is out, they will have heard every single song on this album already, so what's the fucking point? Because it should have been out by now, and they've pushed it back. I'm not sure on when it is coming out now at this point. I just know that it still is happening, but it's kind of gone radio silent for the last while, honestly. I can't remember when they made the announcement, and I can't be bothered to look it up right now. Moving on to track 5, this is a long one here. We've got Tesseract with War of Being at 11 minutes long. Yeah. So, we start with a near full minute of instrumentals, like, before we get this kind of like tech death vibe, until the vocals kick in, which are like this soft, clean, airy vocal, which I really wasn't expecting when I heard the instrumentals. But that then swiftly transforms into like this mid-fry scream. I think the tone is, if I'm trying to guess to the best of my abilities. The drums are very much the focal point at certain parts here. Like that's what sounds like it's being brought forward the most in the mix. The guitars are very choppy, and they do stand out to me as well, personally. But then at the 3.5 minute mark, it kind of shifts slightly, and the pace quickens up a little bit before dying back down. And this is a recurring theme throughout the entire song, where like it'll pick up the speed, then it'll drop back, then it'll pick up the speed, then it'll drop back, then it'll be like clean singing, then it'll be the screaming, then it'll be the clean singing, then it'll be the screaming, and it does get a little bit tedious. And again, it very much has this ebb and flow like sort of rhythm. That's how I would explain it. Like I said, it started to drag for me after probably we hit the 6 minute mark. I was kind of like, fuck me, this really didn't need to be this long, or it could have been two separate songs, like if you wanted to. Which, honestly, I'm getting yawning just thinking how bored I was with this song. Like I said, honestly, for all intensive purposes, like I'm not a long song hater. Like I love it when bands like Periphery do stuff like Race Car, which is 14 minutes, Reptile, which is about 11 minutes long as well, I think. And they have a couple others that are in that like 10 to 14 minute mark. And I don't know why, but when Periphery do it, I'm all for it. I love it. But this one just bored me half to death. Like I said, it did feel like it was dwindling with the same dying down, build up, back up patterns used. I can't read my writing, but it looks like I've written the word clucking here for some reason. Oh no, that's a bracket. Luckily, it had a cool post-apocalyptic samurai fight for the music video, is what it says, but my bracket looked more like a C, so I thought it said clucking. Fuck's sake. Yeah, the music video is very cool, but again, it just didn't feel like the type of song that could withstand being that long. So check it out at your own risk, I guess. Like, if I'm going to give you any advice, it would be watch it with the music video as well, because at least then you've got something to pay like attention to instead of just having the audio, because that will drag. And finally, moving on from that, we have track 6, which was Filth, Chin Check, which is actually, I think, the shortest song on this list today, 2 minutes and 39 seconds. And finally, we're going to end up with a bit of like metal with rap influences. The vocals here, as always with the band Filth, are fucking nasty. The blast beat usage here, I think it was like maybe once or twice. It was really cool. And there's like this growled rap-esque verse before the end, which Filth always kind of tried to incorporate their like hip-hop rap influences. And it's, as always, just another banger from the fellas over at the Filth camp. And honestly, it could have probably got away with being a little bit on the longer side if we're being pedantic, but you know, that's me. So with that being said, this video is done, and I will see you again in the next video, which will be an episode of the 2 EP review, where we will be looking at Plaguebringer and their EP Sola Privatis, that's a mouthful, and Like Moths to Flames with their EP Pure Like Porcelain. So I will see you in the next video, and remember, stay safe out there, my friends. Goodbye.